Welcome to Equestrian Fitness for the Long Ride with the Sweaty Equestrian. I'm personal trainer and endurance rider Tamara Baysinger, and I'm here to help you ride stronger in a day and longer in your life. Hey rider, welcome back to the podcast. I hope that your spring is off to a fantastic start, but I know that for some of you, that's not exactly the case because I feel like I have been hearing about so many injuries lately. Just yesterday, I got another email from a rider who had just really started into the season after getting her horse back from the trainer. She had spent her own winter getting herself fit. And then something happened. She came off the horse and wound up with a broken collarbone. And unfortunately, stories like that are really common. A lot of times it's riding injuries. We know that we work with these 1,000-pound prey animals and accidents happen. And sometimes it's not horse related at all. But either way, when you get hurt badly enough that your riding or your training is interrupted, it can feel so frustrating. It feels like everything is suddenly on hold. Your progress is on hold. Your competition plans are in question. Sometimes even your identity as an equestrian feels threatened because everybody else is carrying on into the season without you. And on top of that, if you care about your own fitness, if you think of yourself as the human athlete in your partnership with your horse athlete, then of course you know that doing nothing for a while comes with a big price tag. So the anxiety hits right away. Am I going to lose the muscle that I worked so hard for? Am I going to gain weight? Am I going to come back weaker and less secure than I was before? And that worry is understandable because honestly, it's realistic. I see it all the time. A rider gets hurt. She spends weeks or months recovering. And then when she does come back, she's just diminished. She's stiffer, maybe heavier, more easily fatigued, and just feeling less capable in her body than she did before. Now, some of that may be unavoidable, especially if your doctor has you on the human equivalent of stall rest for a while. But the good news is that doesn't mean that you are sentenced to a dramatic or certainly to a permanent decline. So what I want to offer today is a different way to think about injury. Being injured doesn't have to mean being helpless. It doesn't have to mean just sitting around and hoping that you won't be too much less capable when you do finally get back on the horse. There's a big difference between being unable to train normally and doing nothing. So this episode is not about replacing your doctor or your physical therapist. Your first job when you're injured is to follow their guidelines. But in many cases, there is still useful work that you can do on your own. So today I want to talk about how to protect the quality of your eventual return physically so that when it is time to ride again, you're not set as far back as you otherwise would have been. Now, this is going to be part one of a two-part conversation. Today, I'm focusing on the physical side, what injury tends to take from riders, what you may still be able to do while you heal, and how to work toward full restoration of your riding ability right from the early stages of recovery. And then in part two, we'll dig more into the psychological side, how injury affects your confidence, and also how staying physically engaged during your recovery can help out with the mental part as well. So let's begin with a mindset shift. When we are injured, our natural tendency is to focus on what we cannot do. I can't ride. I can't walk. I can't post. I can't mount. I can't lift my saddle. I can't do my normal workouts. I can't even get myself a cup of coffee. And yes, those limitations are real and they can be incredibly frustrating. And of course, you absolutely need to respect the injury and the advice of the professionals treating you. But once you know what is off limits, the next question needs to be, what is still available to me? Can you still train the uninjured parts of your body? Do you have a healthy upper body? One good arm? Legs that work, even if your shoulder doesn't? Can you still do some core work or grip work or glute activation while you're stuck on the sofa? Some injuries really are extremely limiting, but the majority are not as limiting as they first appear. And almost all of them become less limiting over time. That means there's often a middle ground between full training capacity and total inactivity. Unfortunately, a lot of injured riders make the mistake of assuming that if they cannot do their usual fitness routine, then there's no point in doing anything. And that's simply not true. In fact, research shows that working the uninjured side of your body can help preserve strength on the injured side. It's called the cross-education effect. And basically, the idea is that even if one arm or one leg is limited, training the other side can reduce how much strength you lose on that injured side. Your body parts are not isolated islands. Training what you can is often worth a lot more than you might expect. And that's one reason that it pays to stay in your rider fitness habit, even when it no longer looks like your normal workout routine. Speaking of staying in your fitness habit, part of what you'll be doing right now probably is a set of exercises prescribed by your physical therapist. If you're dealing with a significant injury, a good PT can be incredibly valuable. A physical therapist can help you restore range of motion, strength, control, function, and help you progress appropriately instead of kind of randomly guessing your way through recovery. And you should absolutely do the exercises they give you, including the ones that seem too easy to matter and the ones that are kind of uncomfortable. But I do want to make an important distinction here. Your physical therapist is there to help with the injury. That does not necessarily mean they are there to build back your entire equestrian body. The PT's job is usually very specific. Get this joint moving again. Improve that movement pattern. Restore this tissue's tolerance. Progress load appropriately. Help you return to daily life and then to higher level athletic function. And all of that is critically important. But it may still leave a gap between rehab for the injured part and whole body readiness for riding. Because being medically improved is not the same as being ready to ride. Your injury may be healing beautifully. You may even be cleared to resume normal daily activities, but that doesn't automatically mean you're ready to absorb a horse's movement through your whole body, or deal with sudden movement, or maintain good position without early fatigue. Riding asks a lot of us physically. It asks for a lot of skill and nuance, and it asks for it in a dynamic, unpredictable setting. So one really useful thing you can do is ask your PT not only about the injured area, but about your broader fitness plan. Now, of course, they're probably not going to write your whole program for you, but they can help you evaluate what parts of an existing program are appropriate in your current context. So you can ask your PT things like, what movements are definitely off limits right now? What movements are encouraged right now? What are the signs that I'm progressing too quickly? Or maybe even not quickly enough? Is this strength training plan or cardio plan reasonable for me right now? Should I modify anything? There are a lot of riders who use the early levels of my Essential Equestrian Fitness program during injury rehab because it starts really gently with stability and proper movement patterns and then gradually increases the load. That's the kind of thing that can be excellent for staying in touch with your body and moving smoothly back into regular workouts as you heal. Of course, there may be a few exercises that are not particularly compatible with your specific injury, which is why it makes sense to show your plan to your PT and have them weigh in. Instead of seeing rehab and fitness as separate worlds, it's useful to think of them as connected but different. Your rehab with your PT is addressing the injury. Your fitness plan is helping maintain the rest of you. You need both. So what should you be thinking about when you're working on your whole body in preparation for a return to the saddle? It's important to recognize that injury often takes more away from riders than just strength and cardiovascular fitness. It can also erode movement quality. You know, that easy grace where movement is coordinated and symmetrical and natural. It's just supported by a basic fundamental trust in your body's ability to function. So why does that happen? Why do we lose that? Well, when you're injured, your body gets really good at compensating. It figures out how to accomplish movement without aggravating the injured area, often by recruiting secondary muscles or changing your biomechanics. Just as a simple example, if you had a cut on the bottom of your heel, you'd probably walk up on your toe for a while, right? And that sort of thing is adaptive in the short term. It helps you get through daily life while you heal. The trouble is that our bodies do not always stop compensating just because the tissue has healed. This is especially problematic with severe injuries that take a long time to heal. Eventually, the primary muscles, the ones that got injured, may be perfectly capable of getting back to work, but your body has already learned a workaround, a compensation pattern, and it just keeps on using that new pattern. This is one of the main reasons that so many riders, especially older riders who have been through multiple injuries, move in kind of a protective, cramped or guarded or sort of stiff-looking way after the original problems have resolved, years after. And unfortunately, doing that for years can contribute to chronic pain and even lead to new injuries or secondary compensations. So we get further and further away from the movement quality that we should be capable of on paper, but it's not coming through in reality. That matters for everyone, of course, but it's especially important for riders. Because if you come back to riding with poor quality of movement, it affects how you sit, how you absorb motion, how synchronous your body is, how you use your aids, how secure you feel. And of course, all of that then affects the horse, both mentally and physically. So a good PT is key for helping you avoid unnecessary compensation, but you can also help yourself by doing the kinds of exercises that restore proper range of motion, correct muscle activation, and coordinated movement. That's one reason that I do like those early phases of my Essential Equestrian Fitness program for injury recovery. They just help bring your systems back online and keep your brain in touch with your body so that the movement feels normal again instead of strange and guarded. Now, another piece of feeling like yourself after injury is staying reasonably in control of your body composition. It's really common for riders to go in one of two directions when they're hurt. Some decide they're sidelined, they're miserable, they're losing fitness, maybe they're missing the competition season anyway, so they might as well comfort eat everything in sight. Screw it, right? And I call that the throwing the baby out with the bathwater response. Other riders do the opposite. They become so afraid of gaining body fat while they're laid up that they cut calories too aggressively, and they end up undernourishing their bodies while they're trying to heal. Neither extreme is helpful. Injury is not the time to throw your healthy eating habits out the window, but it's also not the time to panic and undereat because you're afraid of getting fat. Healing requires energy. Your activity level may be lower, but recovery still has real nutrient demands. And if you shortchange your body nutritionally, you make it harder to preserve muscle and also to recover well. So the simplest, most useful nutrition focus during injury is to prioritize protein and then keep the rest of your diet anchored in quality, whole, unprocessed foods. Protein becomes especially important when your physical training is reduced. Why? Because it gives your body the raw materials to help protect lean muscle mass at a time when you're super vulnerable to losing it. You're already limited in your ability to give your body that muscle building stimulus that you would normally get from movement, especially strength training. If you lack the nutrients, the amino acids, the protein as well, then it's a double hit. So you can help make up for that by eating a lot of high quality protein foods. Shoot for a bare minimum of 90 grams of protein per day. 120 grams would be better. And then fill out the rest of your diet with mostly whole, unprocessed foods. You really don't need to stress about making it more complicated than that. Eat lots of protein, eat whole, real, unprocessed foods. Done. So to boil this down, here are 4 things that I want you to think about if you're dealing with injury. First, once you understand your restrictions, stop asking just what you can't do and start looking for what is available to you. What are you capable of? And do that. Second, use your physical therapist for what they do best, but remember that rehab for the injury is not the same thing as rebuilding whole body rider readiness. You want to do both. Third, protect movement quality because compensation patterns can easily outlast the injury and make your return to riding feel awkward or insecure. So be sure to use a gentle and gradual program, as gentle and gradual as you need, but use it to remind your body and your brain what they are capable of. And finally, support your healing with enough protein, at least 90 and preferably 120 grams of protein per day, and high quality whole foods, instead of swinging either toward comfort eating or over restriction. The big picture here is that yes, injury is going to change your rider fitness plan, obviously. But it doesn't necessarily need to stop it in its tracks. In most cases, there is still a lot you can do to maintain more of your function and readiness than you might initially expect. And that matters not only physically, but mentally as well. In part 2, we'll talk more about the psychological side of injury recovery as a rider, fear, confidence, and the challenge of coming back to the horse, and also how staying physically engaged while you heal can help support that mental recovery too. So if it's your turn to be in a healing phase, hang in there. You can take action right now to rebuild, and you can still ride stronger in a day and longer in your life. Want to get more sweaty? Subscribe to my newsletter at thesweatyequestrian.com/newsletter. And remember, you have what it takes to be a full athletic partner for your horse. Saddle up strong.